in the black lines.
Hi everyone, I thought I would do a video today reading my diagnosis letter for Asperger's syndrome. Now I was diagnosed, when was I diagnosed? I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome on the 13th of July 2010. Now I didn't get hold of my actual diagnosis letter until it must have been April 2014. Yeah, something like that. And this was like an ongoing struggle with me. Like the only letters that I ever had would have been, one was in October 2011, and this was for college. I needed a letter just saying that I had Asperger's syndrome. So I just got a letter going that I met with Teresa on the 27th of October, and I looked at her notes and she was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. This letter is given on a request. That was basically it. Yeah, so I have the letter here. I'm not going to show you it because it's got like my name and address and everything on it. But yeah, I thought I would read it because I thought it was quite important, because some of the stuff that is in it I disagree with, but a lot of it makes sense, and so I thought I would share it with you guys because I got it like over a year ago and I'm finally ready to share it. So it says, "Thank you for referring this young woman to the regional ASD consultatory service for assessment. I saw her on 3 occasions for a prolonged interview and interviewed her mother for development history and collateral information. I will not retreat the unforeseen series of events that led to her current presentation, as they are already well documented." And that was about like my anxiety and depression and things like that. So it says background. Teresa was born 6 weeks early by caesarean section following a difficult pregnancy. She was the second of 2 children, having an older brother who was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. Her mum feels that her husband may also have AS, but this has never formally been addressed. She was an unsettled baby who slept for only an hour at a time and woke up screaming. This lasted until she was about 2 years old. Her milestones were reported as slightly delayed, but she refused nappies by the age of 1 and spoke in clear, accurate phrases by the age of 18 months. She was noticed as having a rather commanding communicative style and was very clear as to what she was or was not willing to do. When told that she couldn't go to nursery unless she could use a cup, she learned in 1 day in order to go. At nursery, she was organised and bossy with other children and managed well as long as she was in charge. She did not play in an imaginative way. Toys had to be real. She would play football with her brother. At a small primary school she attended, her mother said she acted like a primary school girl rather than it coming naturally to her. She observed others closely. She had difficulties with reading and writing, but had extra tuition with this. Socially, her mother said that she was notably unforgiving. However, well-intentioned a person might have been, if they got something wrong in Teresa's eyes, she would have nothing more to do with them. Brownies did not work out, according to her mother. At secondary school, she was bullied to quite an exceptional extent by the pupils who also bullied her brother. This long targeted campaign against them demoralised Teresa to a very large extent, and her mother said that her personality radically altered. She became anxious, fearful and withdrawing. This is largely how she still presents. She is extremely quiet and has avoided talking if stressed. Academically, she had a facility for maths and computing. Special interests relate to music, and her particular interest in Katie Price, who she appears to model her appearance on. However, her underlying determination asserted itself recently when she was learning to drive in order to help her mother with a long journey to a family wedding. No particular sensory hypersensitivities were noted apart from dislike of the feel of certain foods in her mouth and her dislike of food touching on her plate. Sleep has always been a problem for her. Currently, she attends various classes with a mentor or her mother. She tried a placement at Scotland Yard, but found the children difficult to be with. Otherwise, she is just at home with no particular pattern to the day. She would like a job and her own flat, but can't see how this could be achieved. And this is the assessment part. The autism quotient AQ and the empathy quotient EQ were used to frame interviews and later scored. So this is like how you're diagnosed. So my AQ, which is my autism quotient, presented a picture of a young woman with difficulties with social communication, social interaction and imagination. Examples include her problems with social situations and social groups. She deals with these by avoidance or just not speaking. She is fascinated by numbers, finds it hard to make new friends and finds it stressful if she can't pursue her special interests. So my EQ, my empathy quotient, presents a similar picture, although she would theoretically like more people to talk to. It is hard for her to engage. It is extremely important to her that people are direct and honest. She doesn't always understand why people might be offended by something she may have said, although she rarely talks to people other than family. Information gathered from the interviews with Teresa and her mother, as well as clinical impression, was applied by the Krung Asperger's Disorder Index, the KADI, and scored. Results. My autism quotient is 32, which is very high. Most women score about 15. And my empathy quotient is 27, which is low. Most women score about 47. My KADI, my Krung Asperger's Disorder Index, standard score is 104, high likelihood for autism Asperger's syndrome. Whew. From this, it can be seen that Asperger's syndrome could indeed account for some of her difficulties. However, the bullying incidents have cast a very long shadow over her life, and it may be very difficult to overcome in the long-term effects in the contents of AS. I was a little concerned about her appearance based on her interest in Katie Price. She is extremely unlikely to be able to deal with the male attention that this could draw to her. I am glad that she is involved in a mentorship program and hope that she can engage with other women at number 6, the Asperger's Centre, which addresses many of the issues faced by young women who may not have had the benefits of long-term female friendships and learning about relationships. I have met with Teresa and her mother and discussed my findings. Teresa was a little upset as it meant that she was like her brother. I did explain that female presentation is rather different and that she was different always as people are. Her mother is very supportive and plans to help her daughter in any way she can. I do not propose to see her again. Please don't hesitate me for further information required. So that's my diagnosis letter. It's quite hard to read. I remember when I finally got it and I read it, I was so angry. Mainly as it took me about 4 years to get that letter. 4 years. And it's hard to read that about yourself. It's really difficult. But I was lucky in the fact that I had people to talk to about it, and it's taken me about, obviously, a year to share it with you guys, but I'm hoping sharing that of why I was diagnosed and reading that of what I was like and what I'm like now. I'm in a relationship, I'm happy, I can go out with friends, I'm much more chatty, I can chat to new people, I've got a job and I work full time, and the difference is amazing. So just because a bit of paper says this about you doesn't mean that you can't change to do what you want to do. And that's my message of reading my diagnosis letter, is that anyone can overcome anything if they really want to, and just to go for it and keep on trying and be persistent and never give up on what you want to do in life. Just because a bit of paper labels you doesn't mean that you'll stay that way for the rest of your life. hard to read.